Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by the generous support of Planet Earth Diversified, Makia Video Productions, and Melly Productions, with additional support from the Blue Light Grill and Raw Bar, working closely with local farms, and Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture. Here we are in January in North Garden, Virginia. We're going to go inside the greenhouses at the farm at Red Hill and see beautiful eggplants, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, all growing now as it's 10 degrees. We'll see how Richard and Wendy Harrison and their children started a small family farm, about 15,000 square feet of greenhouse operation and a half-acre of outdoor production. They've done so well growing tomatoes that they had too many tomatoes, and now the processing operation has become an equal arm of the business. Richard goes around marketing and demonstrating the processed products. Wendy takes care of the greenhouse along with the children.
I worked in the Antarctic for a couple of years, and I grew in the Antarctic. We did vegetables, lettuce in the Antarctic, and they actually have a whole, now they have an actual whole hydroponic operation down there. I purchased 4 Atlas greenhouses. These are 30 by 100, 30 by 96 foot houses, all gutter connected.
Is that where we're in now?
That's what we're in now. This
two
is
of them?
We're in 2. Yeah, there's 2 of them here. We have a 3rd one to assemble, which now we're going to do as a 120-foot house, since I have leftover parts. And eventually we'll do a 5th house up on that. We'll do a short height house that we'll probably try to run NEF in, nutrient film technique, for, and maybe try to push some Bibb lettuce. And so every year, basically, we have added a house, is what we did. We started with 1 house and moved along. Every year I built a house because I've done them all myself, and I have a boom for the Bobcat that I can lift the trusses in place. And so we I covered them by myself, the whole bit. So it's been, slow going. Yeah. And it's also been a huge learning curve. What to do. We chose to do, like our growing media, we chose to do coconut fiber. We liked it because when I'm done with it, I can deposit it on my garden. Versus doing the rock wool fiberglass, which is a disposal issue of that because it gets loaded full of chemicals, it never rots, never decays. And so we were glad we chose the coconut fiber, and we've been very, very happy with it. We get about 2 to 3 years out of that bag before it gets too dense, and then we'll put it out onto the garden. We did the farmers market, which was very good, to us. And then we are associated pretty with a lot of different stores here in town. From Whole Foods to Great Value to Enter Yoga, to Rebecca's, so we had enough base to sell, our product to.
Now you started making some salsas and different sauces.
Yeah, so we have a whole value-added product line that we did, which was salsa, hummus, tzatziki, that line. And it all came about because the salsa came about because, in the height of season, you can't move the greenhouse tomatoes. And so I was processing those off into salsa, and that was really, really popular. We also did that at the Whole Foods Farmers Market up in Charlottesville. And through that, we got invited to be inside of the store up there. And so we went through the whole process of getting a certified facility, to get a HESA plan for the control of your product, to get the liability insurance, to move that direction through the commercial side. But it was all about using 100% of our product, because we used to feed the tomatoes off to the chickens, and that was the primary purpose of chickens, to be able to do that. So you're dumping, because we didn't want to lower the price and flood the market, because we felt that would be no fair to the other farmers. I could sell tomatoes for 50 cents a pound at the market and unload them, but that's really not a fair way to do a farmer's market. And so we always chose either, just to feed them off. And same with the cucumbers, the tzatziki came about because we grow the European cucumbers. The ones that curve or scar, the stores won't take. And so it was a way to use that product up, make sure you get 100% use out of that. That line actually has grown a lot larger than the greenhouse line. We currently distribute that line throughout the whole Whole Foods chain in Virginia. Next month we'll start distributing through Maryland and DC.
Now you had to build a kitchen for that.
We did, and I actually bought a kitchen on eBay. So when people say you have to spend $30,000 on a kitchen, it's really not true. I mean, the guy wanted $30,000 for his it was actually a restaurant and catering business he had. And I bid on that. We picked up that whole operation for, I think, $2,700.
Wow.
So that got us into the commercial kitchen you know, at a reasonable cost. Had it inspected. Virginia, we've worked really closely with Virginia Department of Agriculture. We've had it inspected. We submitted our recipes, all of our stuff through there for the testing. They have been really well, you know, really good to us. In fact, the salsa currently is going to be used for the Obama inauguration open house for the Obama Agriculture Department and Rural Planning Committee is having an open house the day before the inauguration. And so we're furnishing salsa, tzatziki, black bean salsa, and we'll probably do some red pepper hummus. There's a Mamma Mia's Chips, I believe, which is another Virginia-made chip, is furnishing chips. There's a cheese place from Pennsylvania. There's, you know, so there's about 7 or 10 vendors across America furnishing stuff for the Obama open house. And so,
did you have to go through some special?
We did not. We actually gave samples because every time a person comes, we give them a whole box of stuff to take away. And so the marketing department for VDAC came with the lady who does the certified organics came, and they were looking to do the tour for the restaurant tour that they did. We really don't like to sell a restaurant, so we said we're not really interested in being in it because we don't, that's not our thrust as the restaurant business. But we gave them a box of stuff and took it away, and they were impressed with the product, liked the product. He recommended us to a person who was who was in charge of putting on the event for the agriculture department. And so he contacted us, and we'll furnish that this Friday to them for that event. And so, I mean,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, it's to keep your name out there and to have more and more people.
At the inauguration.
You know, it's 100 dignitaries and 100 people from leaders of agriculture or something coming to it. So it was nice.
That's great.
And that's the purpose of the value-added side. And so here we have a 2-layer roof. This roof here is made in Israel. It's really strong. It's woven poly.
Oh my goodness.
10-year warranty on it. Very, very strong. You can walk across it. And so we just built a simple wooden frame to put it on. And then this house started with tomatoes. It was switched to strawberries, and that's where we originally bought the pots.
These vertical?
Yeah, these were used for strawberries. And actually a few strawberry plants still growing in here. We found it dealing with the gray mold was in the wintertime was difficult for the strawberries, and you couldn't get enough money out of the strawberries to cover their production costs because of you threw away about half the strawberries. Even though they were fine tasting, nice strawberries, very popular.
So no strawberry salsa then?
No strawberry salsa, no. So we switched over. We've had good luck with chard. Even though the book said chard will not grow in a greenhouse, chard actually goes really well in a greenhouse. You can grow it for a year at a time or so. It's a biannual, so you can technically grow it 2 years. We find that it gets a little small in size, and we can move down.
So you've got a multicolor chard.
Yeah, this is Bright Lights from Johnny Select Seeds, multicolored. We like it. You know, one trait that the greenhouse chard has at the filter.
Oh yeah, here we have some larger ones.
Yeah, it doesn't get bitter. We think that the
beautiful colors on the stem.
UV, I think, causes the chard to get bitter. And so, like I say, so it's a nice product, easy to sell. We'll strip them and bundle them, and so it's worked out real well. And then down here,
there's one strawberry.
Well, yeah, see, there's a ripe strawberry right there.
Yeah, there you go. Strawberry in February.
Right now, it's taking about 60 days to get a head of lettuce. And we pull the lettuce with root on, and we bag that alive and sell that live lettuce. The stores like that because it gets zero loss.
Right.
Because it doesn't wilt down, in
and you're using the same cocoa fiber.
Yeah, same coconut fiber. That's right. And so when these are up, they'll get about this tall. We'll pull them, and we sleeve bag them with a little tiny paper-thin sleeve bag, plastic bag. Put a rubber band around the root ball. And sell them a lot. Put a barcode on them, put a tag on them, and sell them that way alive. And like I said, that way you get no wilt down. And we had people actually at the farmers market buying it from us to take it home and plant it. So, but we find that the looser leaf lettuce does better. We had a hard time with the butter crunch head lettuce molding in the center.
Yeah.
And so we've had much better luck with the
gray and brown in the centers.
Red lettuce is more valuable than green lettuce. It sells much better, and you get a little more money for it on the red. So it takes the same length of time to grow.
Now behind us, I see a bunch of peppers. You're doing peppers too?
Yeah. So we do. This is our original peppers here. So these peppers are 4 years old. they'll probably all come out this summer at some point. On the other side, those are newer peppers, mostly hot peppers. We grow, and mostly we grow the hot peppers for fun, simply because...
Use them in your salsa?
I use them in the salsa. We use them in the hot pepper jam that we do. Not really, they're so light in weight, it's hard to really make any money on hot peppers.
But it's almost like permaculture if you're getting 4 years.
Right, we see no reason. These actually started out in lay-down bags, 3 to the bag. And we actually split them out this year out of the lay-down bag and put them in the single bag. And they keep going. And you can cut them off to nubbins, and they just simply regrow.
They'll grow back up.
They'll grow back up. And then what happens if you don't have enough bees in the house, then you get this small size where, you know, that almost all the fruit we find is size is controlled by the pollination.
Yep.
You know, it's like if I'm running a lot of tomatoes, you know, a lot of bees on the tomatoes, I'll get huge tomatoes. You know, otherwise you get smaller tomatoes if you're not running that, or if you just do vibrate. We used to vibrate. And if I vibrate, and I get a lot smaller tomato. And so we like the bumblebees. The bumblebees are a good investment.
And you started all these from seeds?
We start all these from seeds. We start them in foam cubes.
Okay.
The little horticultural foam cube. And if you look at some of these here, you'll see the little cube.
Little horticube, yep.
Little horticube. And we'll start them in the horticube up in the propagation house up at the house. And then once they're just big enough to handle, we'll bring them down here and get them in, because they grow at about 10 times the rate once they're out of the horticube into the media and getting some irrigation onto them. We have a new row of peppers on the other side there. Those are mini snack peppers. And then on the other side of that, those are also snack peppers. These are about 6 or 7 months old. Those are 3 years old.
Wow.
We'll cut those off. We cut those off last year to about a foot. And in the next few weeks, we'll start cutting those down, and we're probably just going to cut them down to about 3 feet this year, because there's no really blossoms up on the top, or not too much fruit on the top.
Yeah.
And so you're not losing much harvest. You know.
And then the spring they grow fast.
And they grow much. You know, as the light comes back, the plants know the light cycle change instantly.
Yeah.
And start coming back.
Well, that's an important aspect of growing. You've got energy costs, and gosh, with the fuel costs going so high this summer, that must have been kind of scary as you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we originally started out this house paying about $1.25 a gallon for propane. You know, then it went as high as $2.60 a gallon for propane. Now it's back down to about $1.57 or so per gallon. But you know, every time we fill up, you know, I just had it filled up yesterday. You know, you're talking 2,700 gallons at a time.
Yeah.
In the summertime, those plants will easily grow 1.5 feet a week. In the wintertime, they're growing about 2 inches or an inch.
Now, do you have bees in here now?
We do. Over underneath the bench at the front of the house, we use bumblebees. And I buy commercial boxes of bumblebees. Unfortunately, right now, there's not enough pollen, so we're feeding them pollen. We buy bee pollen from the health food store, and we'll supplement feed them. And so we do buy hives of bees. They run about 14 weeks, and then we bring in another hive. And you know, the bumblebees in that box at one time, there's maybe only 10 or 15 bees active at a time, and that's more than adequate to pollinate a couple thousand tomato plants.
Wow.
The inspections from Whole Foods and the visits from Whole Foods has been, you know, we've had many more of those than we have from VDAC. And so anytime you go to the commercial side, you know, even though you've satisfied the Virginia Department of Agriculture's requirement, you know, all of the commercial entities are wanting to protect, you know, their clients. And so you have to follow their guidelines that they have. But we have found that, you know, they're pretty, you know, open to working with you. You know, we supply to the University of Virginia through Airmark Food Services. We do the Fine Arts Cafe and bulk salsa. We also are in some of their little convenience stores with the pre-packed salsa. You know, so, you know, but you have to satisfy their requirements. Then you have to satisfy Whole Foods. But we didn't get upset. You know, most people get upset about all that. We did not, because we just used it as a learning opportunity, because if that one entity was going to ask for it, other entities were going to ask for it. And so once you go through it that one time, you're kind of done, because then it's just the same over again. You just submit that. So, you know, people seem to be afraid of that, but you know, it really wasn't anything really to be afraid of. You should really take it as, you know, part of the education, you know, as you move through the development of a product, you know, and not get angry that they're asking for it, no matter how stupid you think it is.
Oh, you've still got some eggplants?
Yeah, right behind you right there, you'll see the Asian eggplant. We used to have a lot of eggplant. Absolutely no market for eggplant. We have one store. The only store that buys them from us is Inter Yoga has a real good time selling them. They can sell them. So if you're having a difficult time moving your product out, either one, you're not pricing it correctly. You have to be aware of the store's markup, and each store is different. We find some stores go from literally 10% markup to 100% markup.
Wow, big range then.
Big range.
Now tell me, I mean, you got a very professional label. You've got barcodes. You've got the keep refrigerated. You're not having preservatives, so you're going to have to keep this stuff refrigerated. You've also got Virginia's Finest. I know a lot of people are real interested in all these processes. That's quite a bit of effort. It takes some time. You don't just get a inspection and Virginia's Finest right away.
Yeah, so that's why talking to you before. It's really about not looking at everything as bad that you have to do. To get into the Virginia Finest program, you just simply call and ask them. They go through, you submit your samples. I mean, you just work through that process, to get to Virginia Finest. Virginia Finest is used as a marketing tool. And you have to, I mean, that's all it is. It's a marketing tool. And for one, it can get you in some stores who you would not normally get into, because under Virginia Finest, let's say, if that store supports Virginia Finest, then that's a way the agriculture department, you can backdoor into that store through the Virginia Finest program instead of trying to come through the front door. And it's a marketing tool. Same with barcodes. You go on USGS1, and buy your barcodes. It's $750, and then it's like $350 a year renewal on that. But you need that, because if you buy bootleg codes from somebody, then you get into a store and it may conflict with another code.
Right.
People say, no, you can't come to my farm. You can't inspect. And no, I'm not going to put that USDA sticker on there. I'm not going to do this. Where does it get you? If you go the other direction and say, well, what can I do? To get my product in your store? What can I do to get that through the VDAC inspection? What can I do? How can I, help along and not fight that system? Then you find everybody says, okay, hey, just do this, and you'll find everybody is really nice and very helpful, because like the Virginia Department of Agriculture, their whole job is to promote agriculture and Virginia products.
Not to stop you, but
to help you. Virginia Finest, same way. They're there to help you, or Virginia Grown, they're there to help you. And so they will steer you. They may not do anything for you sometimes, but they can steer you to a person who has that knowledge, who has that, can help you. And so, people shouldn't be afraid to ask, So like at the farmer's market where, nobody has an inspected kitchen, who's selling stuff there, or they're, people should say, well, it's easy enough to do. And the guy who comes to inspect is really, really nice. And he's just going to say, well, no, you have to have 3 little tubs sitting there on the counter. That's all you have to do is have them sitting there, and you're fine. Not like you don't have to put in a 3-compartment commercial sink. You just have to have 3 little tubs. And then they will tell you that and walk you through each step. And people are afraid to do it, and I think people should do it. I mean, it's an easy enough process to do. It costs you $25 or $50 a year. I mean, it's a minimal cost. And then the other issue is like liability insurance. Most of these people won't carry the insurance. So like Whole Foods requires $200,000, I think, with a $2 million with a $3 million aggregate on top of it. So it's really like a $5 million policy. But as an electrical contractor, we paid tens of thousands of dollars a year in insurance. The farm policy was $500. The $500 is worth my peace of mind to have $5 million worth of insurance. And I don't understand when people say, oh, no, I don't want that insurance. To me, the $500 is pretty minuscule. So this is my wife, Wendy's.
So Wendy does all the work in the greenhouse.
Yeah, she does primarily all the work.
And you just drive around and sell it.
That's what she thinks. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So tell us a little bit more about how you involve the whole family, how you get the kids to actually do some work, and how that has influenced your family and the business.
Well, we have never really had like the Xbox games and that sort of stuff. So we've always worked, and I've always been self-employed. So your
kids get tomahawks and they sit and whine tomahawks.
They do sometimes. They don't like that, But so they all have their jobs, the assigned jobs. Like my daughter loves to clean, and so she can clean and work in the kitchen and label. Ryan's a really good worker. I mean, 16, he's as big as I am. And so he works down here. He does the tomato lowering, and he works down here. We have to pay him, and then the deal was that they could keep half the money, put half of it into their college savings account. you know, and then we won't gripe about other than you couldn't buy video, you couldn't buy an Xbox with that money. Other than that, they could, you know, buy stuff. So
It's really helped in the way they look at food, because before, I mean, you'd walk into the store and they'd go for the shiniest apple. You know, it has to look pretty. And now, I mean, they realize that the actual shininess is not what you're looking for in a product. I mean, they will walk along and they get yelled at all the time by Richard, because Rachel will just strip the cherry tomato row, eating as she goes. He's like, it's
eating my profit. And Ryan loves the little snack peppers. He'll just go through and be eating snack peppers.
We're like, okay, that was $4.50 for that tub of peppers, bud. But I mean, it's fun. That's why we choose to grow the way we grow, so that they can walk through and just eat as they're working.
So they really know that a pepper grew on a plant and didn't come in a little piece of plastic.
All the different types of peppers.
When people ask them questions at the market, I can set them up there and they can tell you what the variety is, how it was grown, what it tastes like. I mean, Ryan can tell you anything about all the peppers. So it's really, they don't look at it as a good base right now, but hopefully. And people tell me that when they get older, they will look back and go, oh my gosh, I did this. I produced something that was good for the community, good for people to eat. And even though it's not what their dream job would be right now, because it doesn't involve a computer, hopefully in the future they'll see the value of what we taught them.
And then, you know, so in the flip side of that, you know, like for his eating habits, I mean, you know, his treat is, I mean, he's always saying, I want more raspberries. So he'll sit down and eat a whole tub of raspberries, a whole tub of blueberries, or a whole tub of fruit, or, you know, oranges or apples. So they don't really think about, you know, candy. I mean, we don't have any candy. You know, that it's always been fruit or vegetables, and, you know, that's what they desire.
Well, that's a pretty valuable aspect just to raising kids. I mean, they could be on the street doing other kinds of candy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and you know, if they say, well, I want salad with dinner, so
go down and get it.
Go and make it. You know? And they'll come down here and they'll pick what they want in their salad, and they'll make it.
That's great.
I mean, it's really, like I said, even though they don't seem to appreciate it right now, hopefully in the future it'll come back to them when they realize that, ooh, salad doesn't come in a plastic bag.
Right. So this is another part of a lifestyle choice that you made, ending the corporate electrical contracting business and doing whatever's necessary to have a home-based business.
That's right, because the kids learn, you know, about, you know, the pollination and about the growing, about the, you know, the fertilizer, about, you know, they learn, you know, they learn many things.
Not just children though, because in the construction industry, if you hadn't noticed, there aren't all that many women. It's been 4 years since I've been called, well, little lady, let me tell you about this. So, you know, there's a lot more women in the food industry. It's been a lot nicer. It's easier for me to work in this industry than it was in the construction industry.
Oh, that's great.
So altogether,
so we've got a happy family at the farm at Red Hill. So now we've seen inside the greenhouse where there are a number of different and exciting production methods. Let's go outside and see some of the new construction and an important aspect of their processing, which is the chickens that eat the leftover greens, the extra tomatoes. It's an important part of their composting operation before they go to their raised beds outside. So these are the tomato excess disposal.
Yeah, in the foliage, you know, in the greenhouse you have so much foliage that you're always pulling off and, you know, discarding, you know, whether it be the leaves and the limbs, the bad fruit, the whole bit. So the chickens really were before a way to feed that off, and we used to, before we started making salsa, we used to feed the tomatoes off to the chickens. We have about 300 chickens. They're all egg layers. You know, there's a few roosters in there. Rebecca's store is where all the eggs go. Absolutely no money in eggs. You know, because you still have to buy feed for them. Now, we were getting the feed from them over in Dayton from the Mennonites. They were grinding feed. But they eat at wholesale at $2.25. That barely covers the cost of the feed. You know,
yeah, we figure our eggs that we produce for ourselves are about $10 a dozen.
Yeah, so no money, but you know, it was something that we like. She likes the chickens, and you know, the people love the eggs. We have all different colors of eggs, and people like the fact that, I think, you know, like one of the marketing errors that most of them make, I think, is, you know, they have all brown eggs or all white eggs, all exact same type. The number one thing we get about our eggs is people love that they're all different colors, all different sizes, all different shapes. You know, that there's blue eggs in there, there's, you know, tan eggs in there, white eggs in there, the whole bit, that it looks real. that just came off of a farm instead of all exactly the same size, all exactly the same color.
Right. So a lot of places I see are huge farms, or they're little intense raised bed operations, but they're still acres and acres. So you guys have 1,000 acres back here that you're growing?
Well, we kind of wish we did, but actually we have a little under 5 acres. And a lot of what we do, we bring lots of people out here, lots of groups out here. We've had articles written about us, and we're trying to show people that you can have a farming lifestyle on under 5 acres, that there is a way to make a profit, make a living, and not have to have that 100 acres and the big tractor.
You just have to have a bobcat.
Well, actually, that's the whole point of doing the greenhouses, which may be a large initial expense, but really not that much if you're considering buying 1,000 acres and the tractor and everything you need to do outside in the field. On 15,000 square feet, we can make enough profit to live off of.
Right.
And if everybody looked at it that way, then farming wouldn't be so frightening. And if you have enough small farmers, you can support a community. And the whole idea that we're trying to get across is that you can do it. You don't have to have your fruit flown in from Mexico or Canada. Your tomatoes don't have to come from Florida. It can be done. It just takes enough people to want to do it.
Wow. Now you've described a number of things about your kids eating and that they notice a difference about food, and oftentimes you'll lose them because they're in the greenhouse eating all your products.
We do. We will send them out to walk the dog or just to get the eggs from the chickens, and it'll be 45 minutes till they come back. What were you doing, guys? Well, the figs were ripe, the blueberries were ripe, there was an apple I had to pick, I had to go through, and the cherry tomatoes were calling to me. You know, you can't yell at them. It's not like they were wasting time on the computer or something. They were enjoying what we do for a living,
right.
And I can't really ask for more.
So it's really a whole family operation then. It's not just you and Richard having a lifestyle on the farm and able to support yourselves without 1,000 acres, but you're actually influencing a next generation, and that they're interacting with their food, and they know where the food comes from, and food isn't going to the convenience store and buying a candy bar.
Well, I hope they get that out of it. Right now, being teenagers, they don't want to admit it, but they do recognize that lettuce doesn't come in a cellophane bag, and they do know that the shiniest apple doesn't taste the best. So I think they're on their way to becoming wise consumers, and hopefully they'll be able to share that with other people.
That's terrific. Well, we've talked to Wendy and Richard here at the farm at Red Hill all about how their family dynamics and their lifestyle has changed since they started this local family farm. And we've also found how you can farm with less than 1 million acres, even less than 10 acres. Just a few acres and 15,000 feet of greenhouse and a processing kitchen, and they have an entire local food business. Thank you for joining us for another Meet the Farmer TV. For additional information and extended versions of this program, visit our website, www.meetthefarmer.com. Meet the Farmer TV was made possible by the generous support of Planet Earth Diversified, Makia Video Productions, and Melly Productions, with additional support from the Blue Light Grill and Raw Bar, working closely with local farms, and Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.